So, happening today, French President Emmanuel Macron is holding an emergency summit to discuss President Trump.
At least 7 key European allies, along with NATO and European Union officials, are expected to attend this hastily arranged meeting.
They say it's not an emergency meeting, but it certainly is hasty and impromptu. Alex Hogan is live in London with the latest. Alex.
Hi, good morning. So as Trump's team holds these meetings with Russian officials, European leaders are quickly scrambling to hold a meeting of their own on the war in Ukraine. And it was French President Emmanuel Macron who called for this emergency meeting, which will be taking place at Paris's Élysée Palace this afternoon. He's going to meet with the leaders of Germany, Britain, Italy, Poland, Spain, the Netherlands, Denmark, as well as the NATO Secretary General and the European Council President and the European Commission President. They're going to tackle how to respond to the fast-moving pace of the Trump administration, something that came as a shock to many of these European leaders. Washington's shifting priorities, efforts to bolster defense spending, and the big question of sending troops to Ukraine after a ceasefire. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, in an op-ed, indicated for the first time that the UK could send British peacekeeping troops to Ukraine, writing in part, "I feel very deeply the responsibility that comes with potentially putting British servicemen and women in harm's way, but any role in helping to guarantee Ukraine's security is helping to guarantee the security of our continent and the security of this country." He went on to say that it is only the U.S. that can deter Putin from attacking again in the future. His spokesperson for his office says that he will be meeting with Trump within the week. And the prime minister also went on this morning to say that this is a once in a generational change to the security and strategy here in not only the UK, but around the continent as well. Guys,
that's right.
To you.
And Alex, as the United Kingdom has said, you know, we would be interested in perhaps sending troops as some sort of a peacekeeping force in Ukraine. It sounds like that's putting pressure on the other European allies and partners to do the same. You know, okay, England's going to do this many. Hey, France, how about you?
Absolutely. This is going to put pressure on all of the other European allies. We know there will be more meetings that follow this specific meeting. But in that letter, in that op-ed that the prime minister wrote, he did make mention to say that, look, Trump has a point here. We need to improve our security. We need to show the U.S. that we really are making a change here. And he says that's exactly the message that he's going to bring to Paris later today.
Alex, thank you.
Alex.
Yeah, Keir Starmer in the UK and Trump actually get along quite well, which is interesting because Starmer's from the left, from the Labour Party. But, you know, when I look at this and I think about it, I think back, you know, to my tenure and just in that short time, what the Trump administration did, a Kosovo-Serbia normalization of relations. That was a war that started in the 1990s. They put to rest. Right. And then the Middle East peace deals, first time in 25 years, Bahrain, Morocco, UAE. My point is the diplomacy that Trump engages in, it's strategic. He knows what he's doing. And if I'm Europe, I'm 3,500 miles away from this meeting going on with the United States and Russia. I'm thinking to myself, he put to bed a lot of prior conflicts. Correct. He created relations between foes, between enemies. He can do it again. Let's give him a chance.
Well, I worry. The thing is, we continue to see this not just internationally, but here domestically. It is the status quo versus disruption.
Yeah.
And we have so many people that just want the status quo. For example, when it comes to this conflict, Putin is a bad guy, which we all agree with. He started this war and he should just leave. Okay, you can have that viewpoint, but nothing has changed with having that viewpoint. You can say Putin is responsible for this, but we have to have a negotiation to see how we end this. And that's what the president is doing. Let's have communication. Let's talk about what we can get. We've already got an American hostage as a result of this negotiation. People are saying that this was the first part of that big overall deal. And he's sending his people down on the ground to have conversation as well. What is so bad about that? Now, if the deal comes out and we don't like the deal, criticize it then. But right. Starting the negotiation, I think they're getting ahead of their skis.
Well, and it comes down simply when it comes to Ukraine to this. Donald Trump has made it very clear from the get-go that war never should have happened. And as soon as he's president, famously he said, I'm going to try to finish it off within the first 24 hours. It's a little more complicated than that, as we all know. But it goes to show you that he's talking in a simple way that people understand. It's like, you're right. Why are we devoting all that energy and all those billions and billions and billions of dollars to that war over that disputed territory, which, you know what, Ukraine's going to wind up losing territory. We know that's going to happen. Ultimately, that's going to be part of the deal. Donald Trump, though, last week, I think it was, he revealed that he was asking Ukraine, and essentially this is another one of it, the way he negotiates, is he was asking Ukraine for a big chunk of their rare earth, the stuff we need. Apparently, according to the Washington Post, Ukraine rejected that proposal, but they're working on a counter proposal. So it may not be a gigantic amount of their rare earth stuff that we need with our technical stuff, but they're going to give us access to it where we can get it if we need it, because right now a lot of the stuff's in China and it's hard to get.
Well, we've certainly given a lot to Ukraine. So I think this is the art of the deal and President Trump putting America first. You know, at this meeting, it's Michael Waltz, you have Marco Rubio, and then you have Steve Witkoff. And I'd remind everyone, Steve Witkoff is the one who negotiated that ceasefire deal before they even got into office. So I would count on this team. Katie McFarland had some great points on some of the hypocrisy that she's seen among Europeans.
President Trump has said his legacy is as a peacemaker. So what's he trying to do? He's trying to bring a rapid end to the Ukraine war. The Europeans, and frankly the Biden administration, for years has said we can't have a negotiated solution to that Ukraine war because we can't trust Putin. Therefore, let's not negotiate. Therefore, America, we expect you to shoulder the burden of any defense Ukraine is going to do. And for the British Prime Minister and the French president to be saying, look, America, you've got to do more, when they're not willing to do more, is just the height of hypocrisy.
Yeah, when you simplify their foreign policies, they're essentially saying, America, shut up, don't get involved, but we want your money. Right. And that's just not going to fly with this current commander-in-chief. Also, the one thing that I think is missed in this conversation, whether you're talking about this conflict between the Russians and the Ukrainians or Israel and Hamas, the president is always speaking about human life. He always talks about these kids are dying. This shouldn't have never happened. This should not. Let's stop the killing. And I think when you start from that, bring the hostages home. When you start from that point, you get the American people's attention from that. Like, I don't want to fight about who's right and who's wrong here, but the killing must stop.
Yeah, and he's made that, you're exactly right, that point in both conflicts. I mean, when people were criticizing him on, being pro-Israel, which we should, that is our greatest
100%.
ally in the Middle East, he was also mentioning lives lost in Gaza.
100%.
He won a huge portion of the Muslim vote in this country because he gave voice to both sides in the bloodshed, and do not, under any condition, send our American treasures, our men and women abroad. He's kept them out of foreign wars. That's his track record.